All right, U.S. turn. Well, it's good that we're not in wire, but we're still got a lot of guys in the woods pinned here. So things could have been a lot worse if we weren't in the woods. If we weren't in the woods and that fire attack had come in, it would have been a fire 3. And if the random number would have been a 5 or a 6, which is entirely possible, we could have had some KAs. So good thing we're in the woods. We're just keeping our heads down and instead of being killed. So all right. So for firing, we're always you're gonna think, okay, what's the effect of having a pin man on a fire attack? So basically, it just means that they do not contribute their FP, their firepower, to the attack. So our group B here can still shoot. They would just be at, well, it depends who they're shooting at, but let's say they were shooting straight across, relative range 2. They would be at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they could still use a fire card. You don't have to have everybody unpinned to shoot. It just reduces the effectiveness. So, all right, so our minefield card here, useless. It's not used in this scenario. Fire 11. We don't have enough firepower to shoot at anyone with 11. A marsh card is one of those, it's a very good card to play on your opponent. They can reject it, but it did mean that you still, even if they reject it, it's not wasted. It still means they burned a movement card that they really didn't want to have to necessarily. So marsh, you can see up here the modifiers. It's a -1 to incoming and outgoing fire. So, but they're harder to get out of. So we'll see that later probably. Buildings we can't use. They're cower cards at this point in the scenario, and a fire 18 is again much too strong. So as the Americans here, we don't have a lot going for us. We don't have a lot to do. This is one of those cases that we probably just going to want to get rid of some of the stuff in our hand. So let's discard the minefield because that's not useful to us, and let's discard one of these buildings here. So because the buildings are cards we're taking out, I'm not going to discard those to the discard pile using my shortcut Control R. We're going to get rid of that one. Remember, the Americans can discard too if they take no other action, so that's what we're doing. And you can see in Vassal there's a removed from game pile over here. So that's where these are going to go, the first 5 of these. I will often, when we have more than one of these, you'll see, but instead of putting another one right on top of it, I'll put the next one down a little bit so we can count them easily. So that's it for the American turn. Draw back up and go back to the Germans. And you can see just even now you're probably getting a sense of how quickly this could start to play once you do know all the rules. I've taken a lot of time to explain the mechanics and we'll continue to do that when new ones come up. But you can see this could go pretty fast. So I think the playing time per the game says it's about an hour. Like I said, my games take longer than that usually. So let's see what we got in the German hand here. All right, we've got some movement. Good stuff. We've got a concealed card, so that will reduce the fire strength of an attack coming at us. And it's great to have a movement card and a concealed card in the same hand. That's awesome. And a rally card. We've got a pretty good hand here. You can see that my movement cards have on the side here forward. So not all of them have this. The ones that have this are in some ways better than the ones that don't because they give you more options. If somebody throws a stream at us while we're moving, remember that the opponent can discard that on you when you're moving. So if we're moving and it says forward, it doesn't matter, right? Like, let's go ahead and think about what we're going to do here. I still want to get this maneuver group closer. So I am going to use this card to move off the hill and move forward. Now, this forward here has no effect whatsoever, right? This is just played as a movement card. But if we had a stream played on us, we could then play this card sideways, and it guarantees that we're going to get out of that stream. So we'll get into that a little bit later. All right, and that's it. In the woods, we're not going to do anything. Just thinking for a second here. Let's decide what to get rid of. These guys are in motion, somewhat exposed. So if somebody were to shoot at them, the way that this works is your previous terrain impacts it. So let me move this so you can see a little better. So you see that our hill gives us a -1 to incoming fire, but our movement gives us a +1. So those would actually cancel each other out. So you do get the benefit of the terrain you're moving sort of out of. I think it's the last 2 cards that are showing here. So right now it's a pretty small stack. So we've got a little bit, we're not at just a +1 for moving. Our hill's giving us some benefit. Still, we could get shot at. We don't know. So it's good to have a rally card. We have a little bit of terrain. Hopefully we'll get some better terrain. The concealed is great too if we're shot at. So there's really not a card here that I want to get rid of. I'd love to get some better terrain, to drop some better terrain for these guys, or to get a fire card to use next time. But for now, let's just hold on to what we have. So we'll just draw up. And we will pass the turn, to the Americans.